Before there was brunch culture, before avocado toast, before Instagram feeds full of fancy plates, there was a kitchen that smelled like biscuits, salt pork, and something frying in a well-seasoned cast iron. This is the food that sustained a people through some of the hardest chapters in American history. Humble food. Resourceful food. Food made with almost nothing and somehow tasting like everything. These are 10 breakfasts that black families used to eat every single morning, and that the world has almost completely forgotten. 1. Crackling bread, hoe cakes with pork cracklings. Number 1. Crackling bread. Let's start here because this one tells you everything about the philosophy behind soul food. Nothing gets wasted. Nothing. When you rendered lard from the hog and you rendered it yourself, in a big pot, low and slow, what was left behind were these golden, crispy, slightly chewy bits of pork called cracklings. Any other culture might have tossed them. Black grandmothers mixed them straight into cornmeal batter and fried flat little cakes on a cast iron skillet that had been seasoned for decades. The result was something between cornbread and a fritter, crispy on the outside, dense and savory inside, with little bursts of pork flavor in every single bite. You ate it hot off the pan, maybe with a smear of butter, maybe with cane syrup drizzled on top. There was no written recipe. There were no measurements. Just a woman who had made this so many times her hands simply knew what to do. This was breakfast before school. Breakfast before church. Breakfast before a 12-hour day picking cotton or scrubbing someone else's floors. It kept you full, it kept you going, and it tasted like home in a way that nothing you can order at a restaurant ever will. 2. Salt pork and gravy over grits. Number 2. Salt pork and gravy over grits. And I need you to understand something before we go further. This is not bacon. This is not sausage. Salt pork is a thick, heavily cured slab of fat and meat from the belly or side of the hog, packed in salt to preserve it for weeks, sometimes months, without refrigeration. It was one of the most important proteins in the black southern kitchen because it was cheap, it lasted, and when you knew how to cook it, and these women absolutely knew how to cook it, it was extraordinary. You sliced it thick, fried it low and slow in a cast iron pan until the fat rendered out and the outside crisped up dark and caramelized. Then you pulled it out, left all those drippings in the pan, whisked in some flour, poured in a little milk or water, and stirred until you had a thick, glossy, smoky gravy that smelled like it could wake the whole neighborhood. Pour that over a bowl of stone-ground grits. Not instant, never instant, real grits that took 40 minutes to cook and had actual texture and flavor, and you had a breakfast that was rich enough to fuel a sharecropper through a full day of backbreaking work. This combination right here is one of the great breakfasts in American culinary history. And almost nobody under 40 has ever eaten it. 3. Fried fatback with biscuits. Number 3. Fried fatback with biscuits. Now fatback is different from salt pork. It's the pure fat layer from the back of the hog, very little meat, almost all white fat. And yes, you fried it. You laid those thick slices in a cold cast iron pan, turned the heat up slowly, and let the fat render out and the outside turn golden and slightly crisp. The house filled with a smell that is impossible to describe to someone who has never experienced it. Rich, porky, warm, the smell of a real kitchen doing real work. But here is the genius part. You did not throw away the grease that rendered out. You poured some of it directly into your biscuit dough. That is the secret ingredient that no bakery will ever tell you. Biscuits made with lard or fatback drippings have a flakiness, a tenderness, and a depth of savory flavor that butter simply cannot match. You ate the fried fatback alongside those biscuits, maybe with some homemade fig preserves, maybe with just a little more of those drippings poured on top. This was a breakfast that built black churches in the South. It fed deacons and preachers and mothers and field hands. It was made from the cheapest cut of the hog, and it was one of the most satisfying things a human being could put in their mouth at 6 in the morning. 4. Pot liquor and cornbread. Number 4. Pot liquor and cornbread. And this one is the one that always catches people off guard. Pot liquor, spelled L-I-K-K-R in the old way, is the liquid left over in the pot after you've cooked collard greens or turnip greens low and slow with a ham hock or a piece of salt pork. Most people today would pour that liquid down the drain without thinking twice. In the black southern kitchen, that liquid was treated like gold. It was dark green, deeply smoky, slightly salty, loaded with the vitamins that it cooked out of the greens, and it had this rich, complex, layered flavor that you could not manufacture any other way. You saved it. And the next morning, you took the leftover cornbread from the night before, dense, thick, real cornbread made in a cast iron skillet without a grain of sugar in it, and you crumbled it into a bowl or a cup, and you ladled that warm pot liquor right over the top. Some people ate it with a spoon like a porridge. Some people drank it straight. Either way, this was a breakfast that cost almost nothing, wasted absolutely nothing, and delivered more nutrition and more flavor than half the things on any menu in any city in America today. This is what food wisdom actually looks like. 5. Fried salt mackerel with eggs. Number 5. Fried salt mackerel with eggs. Before refrigeration, before grocery stores on every corner, before fresh fish was something a working-class black family in the South could reasonably access, there was salt mackerel. Fish that had been heavily salted and dried to preserve it, sold cheaply in wooden barrels or wrapped in paper at the general store. The night before, you soaked it in water to pull out some of the salt. In the morning, you patted it dry, dredged it in a little cornmeal or flour, and fried it in a hot cast iron pan until the outside was golden and crisp and the inside was tender and flaky and deeply, powerfully flavored. You served it alongside scrambled eggs, sometimes cooked in the same pan, picking up all those fish drippings, and maybe some hot sauce, maybe some sliced raw onion, maybe a biscuit on the side. This breakfast was common all across the South and up through the Great Migration into northern cities. It was Saturday morning food. Sunday morning food. It was the smell that meant the weekend had arrived. Today almost nobody under 60 has ever cooked a piece of salt mackerel in their life, and that is a genuine loss. 6. Liver pudding. Number 6. Liver pudding. Stay with me on this one. Liver pudding is a preparation made from pork liver, meat scraps, and cornmeal or rice, seasoned with sage and black pepper and sometimes a little red pepper, then packed into a loaf and either sliced and fried or eaten cold. It was a way of using every part of the animal, the organ meats, the offcuts, the pieces that wealthier families would discard, and transforming them into something cohesive and flavorful and genuinely delicious. Fried in a pan until the outside got a dark crust while the inside stayed soft and rich, served with eggs or grits or just a biscuit, this was a breakfast that appeared on black family tables from the Carolinas to Georgia to Mississippi to Tennessee. It was economical. It was deeply savory. And it had a flavor that is unlike anything else, funky and rich and complex in a way that only organ meats can be. This is the kind of food that food writers today would travel to Europe to find and pay $40 a plate for, while its actual cultural origins sit right here, almost completely forgotten. 7. Stewed dried apples with biscuits.